Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Jai Jinendra, and welcome to Young Jain Professionals YJP Career Expo 2025. We are excited to provide this opportunity and service to our Jain community and others who have joined in to really progress and help each other for career development and lifestyle development. And hopefully, today we will be in a great position to learn from our expert panelists who are practicing this on a daily basis and helping thousands of people across the North America. So without further ado, I want to start with Navakar Mantra in case one of our panelists want to pick that up. Maybe Chinta, would you like to pick up Navakar Mantra for us?
Yeah, sure thing. All right. Everybody's ready?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Namo Arihantaram, Namo Siddharam, Namo Ayaryaram, Namo Uvajayaram, Namo Loy Savasahuram, Eso Pancha Namokaro, Savva Pava Parasano, Manglarancha Savvesim, Paramam Havai Mangalam. All right.
Thank you, Chintav. Appreciate it. We should always start with the good wishes of people. This really helps us to progress in life. All right, let me set the agenda so everybody knows what to expect. And thank you, everybody, for joining in today. We are going to invest 30 to 35 minutes learning about different aspects of career development and job search from our expert panelists today. You will also have a chance to ask a lot of questions. And luckily, we collected those questions as part of the registration process. So we will cover some common questions that were out there out of over 250 registrations that we received. So anybody who is on the call will get the answers, and the ones who are unable to join, we are having this session recorded. In case you're not comfortable with recording, now is the time to take a decision. Along with that, I want to say a beautiful challenge and a competition sort of. We, the first time ever, are going to offer 5 young Jains an opportunity of 15 minutes to talk to our expert panelist after this call. This expert panelist is an amazing opportunity for you to ask questions. These are recruiters. These are hiring managers. They are people who rock the boat in North America. So this gives you an opportunity to ask questions to them. The only way you can win this challenge is if you are with us till the end of the call. So this will give you an opportunity. We have a little keyword that we will be saying at the end of the call. When you punch in that keyword, you get a chance and get selected. There is 5 people that we can offer this service to. So hope that helps. So I think this gives me an opportunity to start this expert panel. Appreciate you taking the time. I'll start off by introducing the panel, and then we'll get right into the Q&A section of this event today. Thank you very much. All right, so I'll go by no particular order, but want to make sure that we can cover our expert panelists. I'll start from ladies first. We'll start from Nikita, and then we can roll into Natasha, and after Natasha, go to Mayank. So Nikita, I'll get you started. I know it's hard to be first, but please take it. All floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Apurva. It's really a pleasure to be here. I hope I justify being the first one. Just to talk a little bit about myself. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. If somebody is from other part of the country, from India, I would say you're almost about to sleep. I really don't know where everybody is from, but it's fantastic to see you all, although I'm not seeing anybody. And you guys are taking the next step in your career. Myself, Nikita, I'm the talent acquisition partner, and I specialize in professional matchmaking. And I say this very loudly to everybody, which means I help people land their dream jobs. I have been in this space for over, say, 15, 20 years now. Believe me, I don't remember the count. Every day it vanishes from my brain. And I have been in the space of IT, non-IT. Tell me which industry, I've done it all. That's a little bit about myself. I don't want to barge too much. But Apurva, are we just doing introductions or you want me to go over the other part as well?
Just introductions for
Okay,
now.
perfect. Thank you so much. And that's a little bit about myself.
Excellent. Natasha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Apurva. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Natasha. Have a long career in the HR business partnership space. I'm not going to kind of bore you all with that. I started long back. My first job was with Hindustan Times. So I've been in the media industry. From there, I went the entrepreneurial route, started my own business back home in India. And then, a friend approached me to start he needed support with hiring at an ed tech company based out of the US, which is called Udacity. And that's really honestly where my talent acquisition journey kind of took off. I did that for about a year in India, but in 2019 moved to Canada, and this is where I am now. In the last 6 years, I've worked with the GovTech space. I've worked in BizTech. I've worked in POS systems, you name it, and I've been there. It's been an exciting 6 years in Canada. And last year, like many of us, I was part of the job market as well, as we were impacted by a layoff in one of my companies. And that kind of got that whole entrepreneurial drive sort of back in me, because I was like, if not now, then when? And so I started and founded my own company called The Talent Maximus. I now only work with exclusive tech companies for very specific roles that they hire for that are very niche roles of sorts. I do pick up a lot of GTM ops and product and training roles as well, but mostly I'm working only on exclusive hiring and can't complain. I think the last 1 year has been very exciting. I've been lucky, been networking, and been able to find new opportunities, new projects to work on. And this is all I do now. So I do a lot of interviews all day, every day. That's actually honestly pretty much what I do.
Well, we're going to ask a lot of questions around that, Natasha.
Thank you.
And also, thank you for being on our panelists last year. So this is actually part 2 of career development. We did a similar event in Jain Society of Toronto last year, attended by 100 people in person. But given this opportunity going digital, we can cover more people. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. We'll go to Mayank. After Mayank, we go to Richard. And after Richard, we go to Chinta. So Mayank, go for it.
Hey, thank you very much, Apurva. A very good afternoon, good evening, and good morning in my case to everybody. This is super exciting for me, and I'm looking forward to contributing as and how possible. My name is Mayank Doltani. I am the CEO and co-founder of Hudson Manpower. We started barely about 6 years ago, but the timing seemed to be perfect, considering that my background was from hospitality industry. I was managing restaurants in New York City before doing this full time, and the entrepreneurial journey just started before COVID. So things went in our way. But talking more about Hudson Manpower, we do IT recruitment in the US. We target industries like the oil and gas, EPC, and manufacturing in the Middle Eastern regions. And as much as I'm happy to help everybody here with my insights of the industry, I'm also looking forward to help from you guys to expand my reach in the recruitment for oil and gas and EPC industries in the North and South Americas. So thank you for that opportunity as well. Well, with the years of experience in the recruitment, I've also seen firsthand how job markets are actually evolving right now, how companies are adapting and new hiring strategies, and how candidates are actually positioning themselves for the best of success. Beyond just the recruitment, also, I strongly believe that while AI and automations and the LLMs are reshaping the hiring processes itself, the human element, in my opinion, the way you tell your story, the way you build relationships, and the way you actually communicate your values will always set you apart. And I'm super excited to be here once again, and I'm looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
And Mayank, thank you. You are joining from US with us, so thank you. I appreciate that. This is truly not American, guys, as we say it. Appreciate it. Richard, over to you, sir.
Hey, hello everybody. First of all, just wanted to also say Happy International Women's Day for everyone on the panel. So just wanting to reference that. But quick introduction for myself. My name is Richard Williams. So I'm actually from Dubai. So I was born and raised in Dubai, and I moved to Canada as an international student and studied in Canada for 4 years. And I've actually now been in the staffing and recruitment industry for 7 years. So presently, I work for a company called Tech Systems. They're a global firm here, and I've done a lot of recruitment for the banks here in Toronto. So spent a lot of time over the past 7 years recruiting specifically for the Toronto market. And this year, I've sort of did a role transition where I'm working directly with some of our clientele as well. But throughout the 7 years, I've worked with many people from different industries wanting to get into banking, whether international students like myself, experienced people who've relocated to Toronto looking to get their foot in the door. So I've had a lot of experience having those conversations, and I always love chats like this, an ability to share back with people what I've learned. Because I remember when I was an international student just relocating here, like I had no idea what the market was going to be like, how to apply, what protocol was. So always happy to be part of these and excited for this discussion.
Oh, excellent. And I want to say something about Richard. Thank you very much for being here. He has graciously accepted to help us today. He is my partner outside Young Jain Professionals, helping Canadians across Canada. So I appreciate your help today, Richard.
Awesome. Thanks, Apurva.
Great. Chintao, you'll be next. After Chintao, we're going to get Arpit and Akshat. So Chintao, over to you, sir.
Yep, sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chinta. I'm originally from New Jersey and have been living in New York City for the last 7 years or so. My background is in consulting. I've been involved with strategy and technology consulting with PwC for about 9 years now, a very long stint, working with different Fortune 500 clients. A lot of my background has been driving the intersection of technology and strategy, finding ways to drive change management at some of these companies. So on top of that, I currently just went through the full job application, interviewing, negotiation, that whole process in the last 2 months or so. So starting at a new company, more at a large company, internal strategy transformation type role. So looking forward to bringing insights from that whole experience as well to the panel. Overall, been involved with YJP, YJA, number of years now in different roles, and have a broad background in Jain concepts as well. So happy to talk about how we can bring Jain values and principles to the workplace as well. And then also answer any other questions, but looking forward to it.
That's great. And Chintao is joining us from New Jersey. Luckily, I will have a chance to go to New Jersey next week, working with the leadership conference for Jains. Going to have an exciting time in USA and trying to bridge the gap between US and Canada due to certain political issues. But guess what? In Canada, we love people and we love to help. And we want to showcase to everybody that we are together and we should thrive together. And this is one platform we can achieve that because everybody wants to be successful and everybody has an opportunity to help each other. So thank you very much, Chinta, for joining us. Arpit Bhai and Akshat, are you on the call? And I know you are there. Would you like to please introduce yourself and Jainism? Akshat, I see you there.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, go ahead, please. Yeah.
So, hi, everyone. Me and Arpit being a director, and I being on the creative side. I'm a creative director. We are from India. It's 1:45 a.m. right now in India. Yeah. So, on Jainism, me and Arpit have come up with a documentary series. It's a proposal. It's on a proposal stage right now. Jainism, the story of eternity, is the title. So the main reason we are going with this is, as you see, there are a lot of documentaries on Ramayana, on other religions, but there's a gap in the market. There's no high quality produced content on Jainism. So, and also the younger gens needs to understand what Jainism actually stands for. So we have come up with this 6 episodic series uh, to showcase what Jainism is, what the true values of Jainism are, and what does the religion stands for. And in a episodic documentary series, it would be a good production value. It would have a great production value.
Excellent. Thank you, Akshat and Arpit, for this opportunity. Stay tuned for more on Jainism because we are going to go to New Jersey next week and discuss with the leadership team around that. So appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Excited for that, sir.
That brings it to me. So my name is Apurva Talsania. I'm the co-chair for Young Jain professionals all across North America. I work at CIBC as a commercial banker. My clients are business owners, fun-loving people. And we actually are in a position to give back to the community in a way that can help you with money, lifestyle, and spirituality. And I feel young Jain professionals are doing an excellent job across North America. You will be very happy to know we have a strong group of 10,000 plus people across North America. And with me today is a beautiful team that is working in the background. Our board is 45 people strong for 2025. I do have some of the board members here today, and I would love to make them give 1 minute and acknowledge everybody. Maybe very quickly, I see Parth, Shrenuj. Shrenuj, you want to go ahead? Parth, you want to go ahead, please? Quick introductions.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Shrenuj. This is my first year at YJP. I'm on the technology team. So I just fly from North Carolina, Raleigh.
Excellent. Thank you. Parth, over to you.
Thanks, Apurva bhai. Hello, everyone. My name is Parth. I've been associated with YJP in various capacities for the past 3 years. Really excited to see such a strong crowd here. Yeah, back to you, Apurva bhai. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Ronak, I see you there. Ronak.
Hey everyone, nice to meet you all. Again, thank you again for all the panelists joining us today here, helping us out. I'm Ronak, serving on the board as the Director of Finance for YJP 2025. Super excited to be part of this little community that we're growing here. Thank you all again for joining. I know a lot of work goes into planning such events. For everyone else, I will be posting a donation link, so please feel free to donate. A lot of effort goes into building these communities, and there's a lot of money that we want to donate and use that for planning such events. So thank you again.
Excellent. Anybody else who is part of the board who is here? I cannot see everybody. Please unmute and quickly introduce. Then we can move on. Okay, I know there are a couple, I can't see everybody. So, but thank you very much. Please introduce yourselves in the chat box. All right. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with the introductions. Now we're going to go right in. I'll just make sure everybody is in line with the structure. So we are going to discuss some very important topics today. I'm going to start off with Richard. Richard, if you're okay with it. Richard, let's start by talking about how to approach recruiters and how do we sound professional and prepared when approaching recruiters.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. And providing that's a great topic to start this discussion off with, because a lot of the times people, that's like the first bit when you're looking for a job. You apply for a role, and then what else can you do? It's always approaching recruiters, and some of the advice I always give people is just professionalism. I mean, goes with it might be something silly, but it goes without saying. Just I get a lot of messages sometimes which just say hi, or can you help me get, like, can you help me get job, or like it's not a professional outreach. So I always just say from initially, it's do some research on the person. Maybe it's the company. Professional approach is always good. So not just hello, like, or if you're messaging a recruiter, you typically knows why you're messaging them, so you can get direct to the point. So for instance, you can say, hey, Apurva, I noticed you work at CIBC for the past few years. I'm actually very interested in this role at CIBC. I know you recruit for it. These are my qualifications. I'd love to seek to understand like the opening. So make it about them. And the one thing too with approaching recruiters and things, I always say it's a mindset piece. Nobody, like, you can't approach things transactionally. What I mean by that is you can't go and say, hey, I want this, and somebody will get it for you. It's about relationship building and like approaching it from a conversation piece that always gets the ball rolling. I always find, I was actually before this going through my LinkedIn messages, and I found the ones I typically tend to respond to, or sometimes I'm bombarded with it, but the ones that stand out to me are the ones which are curated, approach with genuine curiosity. So obviously the professional approach is really important, making sure it's almost like you're asking questions, it shows you've done some research, because and it's also so many times people message and it's a copy paste. It's clear because I always get, hey Rob, or like the person's name isn't right, so I can obviously tell some people I've like copy pasted this message to a few people. So just being specific in those details is really important, I find. And then the other thing too is I just think it's important, like if you're messaging a recruiter on LinkedIn, the first thing they're going to do if they're seeing it is viewing your LinkedIn as well. So making sure that information is up to date. It's clear what you're looking for, like what kind of roles you're interested in. Otherwise, the person might not even know how to help you in that regard too. And then the other thing too is keeping in mind it's all right to follow up as well. Like if somebody hasn't responded to you, don't take it personally. People are busy, life happens. So it's professional also just to follow up and say, hey, notice you, hey, just wanted to circle back on this. I'm still very interested in this role at CIBC. Would love to chat more about it. And that typically also just shows genuine care, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of a high level on it. Yeah.
Excellent. So Richard showed us how to actually approach recruiters. But before doing that, Mayank, our resumes need to be correct and now ATS computer friendly. How do we achieve that, Mayank?
Well, that's a great question, and thankfully I had some time to prepare for it. So let me actually go through a few areas where we can improve this. While AI and LLMs can tell you the basics about everything that we're about to speak, I would actually like to go beyond and the generic advice and focus on how truly to optimize your resume for ATS while still keeping the human element intact, as I clearly mentioned in my introduction. It's very important to me. So some very basic do's and don'ts. Just use a clean and simple format for your resumes. Tables, graphics, and columns confuse the parsing systems of the ATSs, and it might not be able to extract the right information for you. Stick to the standard section headings. We notice a lot of times wherein people like to become fancy with how they would like to, for example, display their work experience, and you're just confusing the ATS over there. So just stick to standard sections and headings. Use bullet points for instead of paragraphs. That is, I don't know how important this is. It seems very basic, honestly, but again, we see so many people just writing paragraphs and stories about everything that they wanted to convey to us. Again, just one more thing is avoid using headers and footers for important information. We notice a lot of people who mention, for example, their contact details in the footer section or the header section. The ATSs might actually ignore them as irrelevant information, considering their placement. There's one very important advice also apart from this, which is the keyword. We noticed that a lot of people like to stuff the keywords in the skills section instead of naturally acclimatizing in the resume. I would like to give this more attention in some time, if you don't mind, actually. There are some advanced tools also that in today's world can be extremely useful. There are resume builders out there, actually, if you'll believe it, which actually optimize your resume for the ATS. There's a couple of names I would like to take here. JobScan, Resume Worded. These are mere examples, and if you are interested, you should go and search for these, because there are tens of them, and new ones are coming on a daily basis. These tools actually scan your resume, not only give you a score as in comparison with the job description, but they will also give you tips on how you can optimize your resume in order to match or suit the job description better. There are ATS resume templates available, if you'll believe it, from Indeed itself. There are some keyword optimization tools, which is my favorite part of optimizing your resume. There's something known as Skill Syncer, a syncer with SYNCER. This basically identifies the missing skills that you have in comparison to the job description, and then suggests the improvements in detail so that you understand what you're doing, and also understand if there is something you shouldn't be doing if you don't have the skill while you're applying for the job. Again, from my personal perspective, the magic touch, what AI cannot do for you, perhaps, while all the ATS tools are useful, the tools that I mentioned, your resume shouldn't actually feel robotic. It has to be a human element that makes the recruiters notice it, because it's not just while you're looking for a job, the task is not just to perhaps go through the ATS, but also the recruiter should actually fancy your resume so that you can fancy your own chances of getting the job. So in that context, there's keyword integration that I mentioned before as well. I would like to reiterate that point. You should have a natural way of integrating the skills instead of just mentioning it in the skills section. For example, SEO, digital marketing, content strategy mentioned in the skills section. The right way, in my opinion, would be to mention it in the form of an example. For example, implemented a digital marketing strategy that increased organic website traffic by 20%. Numbers are key, through targeted SEO and content optimization. Now, when we do this, not only does the ATS pull up the right skills from your resume, the recruiter who's actually reading over your resume also is interested in knowing more about you. So similarly, variation of keywords are also very, very example, if you'll believe it. Like we know that ChatGPT and perhaps a Perplexity and a Gemini are very different in the way they approach each subject. Similarly, believe it, ATSs can be tricky, and you don't know which ATS has been used by the client. So ATSs can be tricky. The point is, use variations of keywords. For example, the job description is asking for a customer relationship management. Mention not just the customer relationship management part of it, but also the CRM wherever possible, so that just depending on what the ATS is looking for, you get picked. Use industry-specific language. It shows that you know more about the field. For example, in healthcare, use both full medical terms as well as common abbreviations.
Great.
If you are, for example, proficient in, I'm not sure if somebody tried to say something there, but I'll continue. So, for example, if you are proficient in healthcare, it's, for example, electronic health records. Mention both the full form and the abbreviation, which is EHR system. Like for example, I used the Epic EHR, for example, in order to convey your point. It increases your chances. I'll reiterate the number point of it. Quantifiable achievements are extremely important. You don't want to mention that you've worked on multiple projects, for example. I would always recommend you mention how many IT projects you worked for while delivering them. What was the percentage of the time within which or beyond which you actually achieved your targets and your budgets? Very, very important quantifiable achievements. These are points which are actually very, very important to me. I also would like to reiterate the LinkedIn part of it. It is extremely important that the LinkedIn profile matches as and isn't on par with your resume itself, because a lot of ATSs today are actually syncing all the data from LinkedIn itself, if you'll believe it. I am happy to give a small example, Apurva, if you'll allow me, of everything that I have said today in order to summarize all the information. So let me
Take
give
that
you an yes.
in the middle of the conversation once we progress. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's
do that. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you, Apurva.
I think you gave us 10 years of experience in less than 5 minutes. I don't know how you did that. And Richard as well. Thank you so much. I think brings us to the point. Now we knew how to connect with a recruiter professionally. We have a good understanding of building a resume. But you mentioned the heart of the resume is yourself and the values that you have. So, Chinta, I'll bring it to you. And after Chinta, we'll go to Nikita. Chinta, what does values mean to you? And how can you include that in their job search, which you always, what you just faced it a few months ago? So, happy to pass it to you about values.
Yep, sure thing. Yeah, so this is transitioning more into Jainism values and how we can incorporate that into job search, workplace, etc. And I mean, as all of you know, we spend more time than anywhere else at work. It's where we live out our values, our lives. So we have to realize that Jainism already has very powerful, practical tools for us to create impact in our professional lives. But the question is, are we actually incorporating them day to day? We know of obvious ones, ahimsa, aparigraha, anikantvad, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but I also want to talk a little bit about the unconventional ones that people don't even understand as much or incorporate as much into their day-to-day. So starting with, for example, anikantvad, obviously we want to see everything from multiple perspectives. That's the idea, that's the principle. And so an application of that is, as we're going into meetings, are we determined to prove our viewpoint, or are we actually listening with a very open mind to other people's ideas, so that this can transform the culture that we're in, the actual day-to-day that we're in, from something that's a competition to a collaborative culture, collaborative workplace. Ahimsa as well, very simple to practice in a physical sense. We try to practice nonviolence, but beyond that, can we also practice that emotionally and intellectually? So that might mean that during a conflict with either a company that you're recruiting for, with a coworker or boss or a stressed out team, it's easy to just want to throw your laptop out the window, or it's easy to be very stressed out and annoyed with who you're working with, and kind of lash out verbally. But pausing, stopping from doing that, and recognizing that everybody has difficult situations, difficult moments. The best way is to choose kindness in those moments, and that will change, again, the culture that you're in tremendously. Another is aparigraha, another pillar of Jainism. It's non-attachment. We know that as detachment from possessions, but it can be so much more in the idea of freeing yourself from unhealthy attachments to outcomes. This is probably key to the recruitment and career transitioning phase, because a lot of us will go into that saying that, okay, in the next month, I want this job, or I need to get this, and I need to succeed in this interview. But that's a negative self-fulfilling prophecy. When you have those anxieties and these beliefs that it has to go the way that I want it to, you will almost be shooting yourself in the foot, because those anxieties will come out in the interview. They'll come out in the workplace, and they will cause you to be stressed out and will make things worse in the end. So having that detachment from outcomes while putting on your full effort is such a key value that we should be bringing to both recruiting and the workplace, letting go of the outcomes, but putting in your energy and your full power towards it. In terms of a couple of less traditional concepts, there's an idea of samvar, and samvar is to stop the karma and stop negative energy coming into you. This is a very powerful concept because it's being very proactive rather than reactive to situations, and proactive rather than reactive to what inputs are coming into you. So can you almost realign so that you're not involved with gossip, so that you're not involved with anxiety about situations at work that are not relevant to you? Can you kind of get out of those conversations if they're especially affecting you negatively? So a lot of it is taking time for yourself to introspect, to analyze, to audit your actual day-to-day work and day-to-day where your energy is going, where your mind is going, where your thoughts are going. And in those buckets that are difficult, in those buckets where you feel stressed, actually putting a stop to those proactively can be very powerful in just changing the way in which you approach work, the amount of enjoyment you get out of your workplace and your culture at work. Another one or two, just to wrap it up quickly, is satya, which is the idea of truthfulness beyond just honesty. And that idea is to have radical transparency. This is a concept that Ray Dalio talks about as well. A lot of people talk about this, is to be completely open with and honest with where things are, with your ambitions, your abilities, rather than trying to hide things subtly, trying to play a political game, which often you'll see, trying to hide things from recruiters, which will cause you problems in the end when they will understand, okay, you might not have this skill set, but if you had mentioned it many times, many sessions before that, it could have put a pause in terms of what they were promising to a client or a potential job. So incorporating that, the idea of full radical transparency and honesty is another big value that we can incorporate into the workplace. Last one I'll say is the concept of Utsarg, which is to be voluntarily sacrificing yourself for the greater good. This concept in Jainism is it's a very core tenet of you want to be looking at the overall impact of your actions, not just your personal gain or personal impact. And so in the workplace, a lot of us are often obsessed with what's in it for me, what's my personal gain, how can I win from this? But that is not what will build relationships. A lot of leaders, many years and decades into their jobs will tell you this. Core relationships can be built and core trust can be built over long periods of time where you're giving without the expectation of anything in return. You are able to forge alliances, cultivate a culture where people are genuinely curious or genuinely trying to give and assist other departments or other teams. So incorporating that again has long-term impacts rather than just thinking in the short term or thinking from the self-interested point of view. So overall, went through a couple of values of how we can apply them to the workplace, and obviously there's more to incorporate, but we'll bring that into some of the further questions that we get in the panel. But back to you, Purva.
Thank you, Chinta. This is the first time ever job search we have included values as part of job search. This is very critical, and this will determine how to apply for a job and how to stand out. I'm not going to take any thunder from Nikita. I'll pass that to her. And then after that will be Natasha. So Nikita, over to you.
Thank you so much, Apurva. Chinta, you've really touched so many things with regards to values. Just to touch on the same thing, I'll tell you, values, when it comes to religion, it also adds values to any organization that you're applying for. So I'll be able to help you walk through, how to apply to a job, how to stand out. But the very first important thing that I want you to understand is believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, then only you will know where you want to be. Finding the right opportunity is very important. Research the company, research what their interests is, what their values are for you to apply into that job. Use platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed. Many career pages are available these days where you can go ahead and apply. But additionally to that, make sure you're following those pages as well, because that's going to give you updates on what new is coming in a specific organization. Attend to networking events like these ones. Do not be shy. Connect with recruiters, connect with other professionals, grow your network. Organically you grow your network, you never know, someone could come to your help where and how. Mayank touched this a little bit, I don't say a little bit, very widely, to tailor your resume. Anywhere you have to apply, it is very necessary that you tailor your resume. It's not that back in the days, how it used to be is you had one resume and you keep on applying to multiple jobs. It's not the same these days. AI is huge these days, and it's helping us filter a lot. So if you tailor your resume, make sure you save the resume for which organization you've applied for, which I feel in my personal experience is very important. Why? Because you never know what you've applied for and what your resume was. Tomorrow, when you're interviewing with any professional, it's not going to match what you've applied for and what their ask is. So that's one of the main key thing that I feel, and it's going to leverage you tomorrow. Using the right keywords from the job description is very important, but make sure you're not using the same one. Relevant, similar keywords are good enough. Keep it concise, result focus. I'm sure Mayank touched all this, where he spoke about numbers as well. But highlighting your achievements, showing your progress is very important. But keeping it concise is very important. You cannot have a whole story, 4-page resume. Maximum is 2-page. The other thing is application submission is very important. Follow the instructions very carefully. When I say follow the instructions, some organizations say PDF, some organizations say Word. Those minute things really matter. How much are you writing into your resume? Your LinkedIn page and your resume should read to itself. It's not that you're writing talent acquisition partner in your resume, but on your LinkedIn page says you're a manager talent acquisition. So understanding those little things, should be very important. After all these things, I believe that how you need to stand out, there are certain things which you need to be very passionate and you need to take initiative by yourself. Is you need to create your own strong personal brand. Like I just said, LinkedIn, the digital resume that you have speaks a lot about your profile. Your colleagues, your previous managers, ask them to put some shout outs for you, put some referrals for you. That is very important. Post your achievements, post your projects, insights about your field. Be very active on LinkedIn and other professional networks as well. Try not to overfill your responsibilities in those columns because, again, like I mentioned to you, your resume and your LinkedIn, it will not match because when you're applying, you're tailoring your resume. Those are very key important things. Coming to a place where you're applying for creative roles or technical roles, showcase your work by portfolios, GitHub, blogs, projects. Important. Don't forget those things. When you're preparing for interviews, be the pro. Nothing else can be better than you is very important. That attitude of yours is very important. Research about the company. Talk about so main thing is research about the company, understand the role, practice common interview questions before you're attending the interview. The most important thing that I feel is using the STAR method. If you guys have heard about it, it's very well known. You can also find more information about it on YouTube, which is called situation, task, action, and results. That's going to help you answer any behavioral question. In this, I have one small thing. Do not say words like it is a stepping stone, kick off to your career, not the right phrases. All this is very important. I'm sure you might have heard that very well saying entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. But in this world, when you're looking to get a job, networking, 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 that's the key factor that's going to get you a right job. After doing an interview, the most important thing is send a follow-up email. A follow-up email will always help you come into an eye of the recruiter, which is not really very big, but summarize everything that you have spoken in a few words. Add anything that you want, but don't make it a huge, big story. Last thing I would say, never get discouraged, because that's the place where you will feel that, oh, I'm not getting this. Seek feedback, keep on applying, but also remember, do not apply to every Tom, Dick, and Harry jobs. Keep it very simple and apply to the roles that you feel that you're going to get it. That's all I have to say. And your dream job is out there. It's just waiting for you to go after it, is I would love to say for you. Thank you all.
I love that. Dream job is out there. Good word, Nikita. I think that brings us to Natasha, where We are so close to get that dream job, but this salary negotiation is the biggest problem. Uh, Great interview, great resume building, 21 years of study, and it all comes down to money. Natasha, over to you.
Thank you, Apurva. It's almost ironical that I'm talking money to a group of Jains. Nobody understands money better than we do. So I think just a little bit of that is a good mindset to go into salary negotiations with. But this is a tricky one. I'm not going to deny it. I speak to enough people who struggle when we are talking compensation. And honestly, I feel a lot of it is also on the recruiters themselves. Personally, I do, every time I'm speaking to a candidate, I try and set an easy tone around talking about money, around talking about compensation. My goal is not to grill you as a candidate. My goal is just to find out whether you're aligned with the budget that I'm working with. And it's a lot of that tone setting has to happen with recruiters. But I still understand it is like a little bit of that nerve-wracking sort of a conversation to have. I'm going to actually take a few steps back here and, very transparently admit that as I was preparing for this topic, I kind of like every good Samaritan went on ChatGPT and I said, well, let me find out what's the easy way out. Like, what are my talking points going to be? And as I was going through those, I was actually very surprised by the kind of advice that ChatGPT kind of threw my way. And I just am also the person who believes artificial intelligence is great, but it's kind of counterbalances with natural stupidity. So you kind of have to figure out, how to leverage AI really smartly, like some folks here have mentioned as well. And so, all of this to say, as I was researching on this topic, trying to find talking points, something that kind of very conspicuously I noticed was things like saying ChatGPT's first advice actually was avoid discussing salary in the first interview unless necessary. There's a point where it says once you have an offer is when you negotiate. And I think fundamentally, those are some things that I kind of, as a recruiter, completely disagree with. I think what's important is to walk into a conversation prepared to talk about salary. I think it's so important. So much of an interview is not just what we're saying, but also how we're saying it. So preparation as a result becomes key. And I don't mean spend hours trying to figure out, like, benchmark yourself against the market, because unfortunately, in my experience at least, the market says way too many different things. And it's very difficult to say, okay, what's the average of all of this information that I'm looking at? And then as a result, what am I supposed to say should be my compensation range as I'm walking into an interview? So all of that sounds very good when you're preaching, and you want to sound like a preacher of sorts, but it's not practical advice. So I think what I do encourage people to do is walk into your first interview, the very first interview, ready to talk about compensation. You have to go in with the mindset to say, well, I'm ready to talk numbers. This is what I think, my experience aligns with in terms of my experience. And then to also have the mindset to walk away from that conversation if it does not agree with you. And I'm going to touch upon a very tricky sort of a subject here, but it's also that whole cultural amalgamation. So to say, in my experience, at least in Canada, something I have observed, and I hire in Canada and in the US and also in Europe and Middle East. I'm sorry, my son's just walked in. Just 1 second. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And so something I've observed is when I'm talking compensation to candidates who typically come from these countries, if the compensation does not align with them for whatever reason, they will turn the conversation down. I literally 2 days back was interviewing someone. Our budget for the role was, let's say, 100. This candidate was expecting a 130. And I let him know that there is no way we can go to a 130. And he very politely said, well, in that case, I'm sorry, but I'm going to withdraw from it. Oops, sorry, I can hear. Okay. And so that's also a little bit of that mindset piece. So I always say this, and it's not easy. So please don't get me wrong. I'm not here to preach, because when you've been impacted by layoffs and we all have bills to pay and we all have responsibilities that, we need to kind of work around, it does get difficult. But how we sound in that conversation is also going to decide our power of being able to eventually negotiate. So anyway, all of this to kind of circle back and say that when you're walking into salary conversations, I would encourage you to have those in the first round. Be bold, be confident, ask the interviewer towards the end of the call, if they haven't brought it up by then, can you please let me know what is the compensation benchmark or compensation range that you're working on? If it aligns with you more or less, you can go a step deeper and ask them, well, okay, what are some of the benefits that you offer? What are some of the perks? So what we want to do is look at the packages as a whole. We don't just want to look at the mere numbers. And so what, I'm sorry. Okay.
Somebody got passionate.
So sorry, my chain of thought just broke. But essentially, like that's the mindset you want to go in. Have the conversation confidently. Be open to saying no if it doesn't align with you, but also be open to saying, okay, as we move through the process, I'd like to meet the team a little bit more, understand what you're looking for. The range you've shared with me is not very far from where I am, so I'm willing to talk. So what you're doing essentially with that is you're going to keep the conversation going, as against saying, I'm looking at 80, you're offering 85. No, I'm like, this is not going to happen. So you want to make sure the conversation's going, but not when the gap is too big for you to kind of, mentally kind of accept, because you'll be in the job market in less than 3 months. I promise you that. And it's going to be the same cycle. So you have to know, like, what is it that you're looking for? How much of a buffer do you have? And then are you also looking at the complete package or not? So just a few elements like that, I think, become really, really important. Also be strategic in what you're asking for. So what I would recommend, and I always say this, is talk range. Don't talk like specific numbers unless you have like such a rigid number that you're not willing to kind of adjust to it at all. That's really important as well. Again, it's just helping you keep the conversation open. And I'm not kidding you. I have personally made offers to candidates where we were working, for example, on a budget of 80K, and we've gone up to 110, 125K for a candidate just because of how well they interviewed. So all of this like also ties into what's happened through the process. So at step one, you don't want to close the conversation necessarily when it comes to salary, unless obviously it completely misaligns. Then please don't waste your time or the recruiter's time. You don't want to be lowballed. And so it's very critical to keep that in mind, that through the process, if a company is very excited with your background, the way you've held yourself in interviews, the way you've spoken, the way you've answered questions, I kid you not, they will fight for you. And I'm going to give you an example just from yesterday. I'm not even going to go very far. For one of my clients, we were hiring for a marketing operations manager. So 2 weeks back, we started the interview process where the candidate had said that she aligns with the compensation that we have. Through the process, she figured out, like, she'd interviewed really well. We were moving at a great speed. So you get the sense that the company is getting interested in your profile. Like, that's how everybody was sounding to her. And so we were doing offer negotiations yesterday, and we offered the candidate, let's say 100K. She takes 24 hours, gets back to me saying, I'm sorry, but the compensation does not align. And so I went back to the hiring manager saying, well, we've maxed out our budget. What do you want to do? Like, this is a really solid candidate, but please understand she was a strong yes in 6 interviews. That's not easy. Like, she clearly had the skill set we were looking for. And so the hiring manager came back to me saying, make it happen. Even if that means I'm going to offer a more senior title, if that means I need to stretch my budget, this candidate is so damn good. I need this person on my team by hook or by crook.
Wow.
And so what I'm basically trying to tell you is stuff like that also happens. It happens. We are still, like, negotiations are still on the table. And with that mindset, the hiring manager saying, I need this person on the team. But it goes back into, in a way that all of us have covered today, which is, the candidate has to How do I prep my resume? How do I speak in the interview? What is the mindset I want to have? Like, all of that kind of culminates and comes in together. So I don't want to take any more time, but what I'm saying is that the confidence and the mindset that you go in with during an interview process is very important. And again, please don't get me wrong. It's not always easy. A lot of us are impacted by layoffs. A lot of us are trying to figure out what to do in a new country. We don't have the network everybody tells us to build. We don't have the references. We don't have anyone taking us seriously because we're an intern. And somebody here in the chat bot did in the chat commented that, well, I'm an intern. I don't even bother applying if I don't have referrals come through. The point is that at the end of the day, you need a job, and there's like a lot of factors that are kind of gonna impact your head. Um, Irrespective, I think you just have to, at least in the interview process, come across as someone who's got it all under control,
Wow.
irrespective. And so that's really important. Um, and again, I will acknowledge it's not the easiest part of the interview process. So take it with a pinch of salt. But I swear on God, if you interview well, if they know they want you, they will move hell and high water to get you on your teams. That is something I can promise.
Natasha, I'm coming to you for that because that opportunity. And thank you very much for adding important points for a very difficult conversation, because depends on what you say in that conversation could determine your career. And money is important. Let's be honest here. The reason why we have this event today is because we know we are in a difficult economic situation. And each one of us on the panel added some very important points that can change your financial life, that can help you to achieve spirituality at a later stage. So, thank you very much for that. That brings me to an opportunity to bring all the panelists together to answer this simple question. What does a candidate do when they receive an interview call? My goodness, the anxiety level is high. The preparations are going to come together, and you want to hear about salary and what this job is going to do for me, and how is this work culture going to work out. Interview is lined up tomorrow, and the anxieties are up. So we'll go with the same flow. Maybe a minute to each. You can give us a high level of what would you advise our candidates to do for interview skilling. We'll start with Richard. We'll go to Nikita, then go to Mayank, and we'll continue that way. So Richard, go for it first.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's going to have similar advice or thing, but when you get an interview request, I would just making sure a couple of basics I always do is making sure you understand the job description. Company research is key, like really understanding the job description, what the company is doing. In the world of AI we touched, it's very simple just to put it on the Copilot or something and say, tell me what's happening with XYZ company in the news. It's always good to be informed. But I think after that, like what's really important is how do you stand out in an interview? And it's really telling your story. And what I mean by that is you have an interview because they like something in your resume, but the interview is about validating who you are, what you've done. So a lot of people sometimes go in and the first question is like, tell me about yourself. They tell what's on the resume, and that's really the chance to show who you are as a person as well, because that's what becomes memorable. So I always tell people really focus on that, like who you are, what's your story, and how does that connect to what this role is. That's really key. So that's one of the things too. And then format of the interview as well, like the virtual interview, like it's small things as well too, like making sure you have the right format. Like I've had this happen to candidates. It's interviews at 10 a.m. and they don't have Teams, and like it's like a big like panic they have because they haven't figured that out. So making sure you know the format to your story, doing your research, and then research on the interviewer as well is key. I mean, in the digital age, it's very easy to stalk people now. So it's very easy to find out some information and relate that in. Just again, you want to position yourself as not the average person interviewing, because a lot of people just give like just answer normally. They don't like think outside the box. But this is really where leveraging like some of the research you've done is key, because it shows not only that you're well prepared for the interview, but also you've done your due diligence and homework to prepare for it. Yeah.
Excellent, sir. Thank you, Richard. Nikita?
Richard has touched a lot many things. It's a very wide thing to speak about, but research, doing your homework very thoroughly about the organization is very important. If you go and check every organization's website, mission, vision, values, their goals are written about it. How you incorporate their mission, vision, values, and goals in your conversation is very important. The organization wants you with them, right? So you need to make sure that your behavioral answers are matching to their values. So those little things are very important. Are you aggressive? Are you not? Um, when I am interviewing people, I have a very funny way of asking everybody, what do you do for fun? Sit and watch Netflix? Are you looking for somebody like this? There is no horizon beyond this person only watching Netflix, which is a research or a story about somebody else. But if you go and tell me that, I am a coach in my daughter's school, I coach their football team, that means you're very social. You like to help people. You're team oriented. Um, you think out of the box is very important. I walk my dog. No, this is not what I'm looking for. Of course, I walk with my kids also, but what do you do differently is very important. So, answering the question right straightforward is not what we are looking for. We're looking for innovative answers. That doesn't mean you tell us big, big stories, but be very concise, but answer to the point is what I would love to say.
Thanks, Nikita. I had somebody for a banking job. They said they are a part-time pilot. I'm like, wow. Well, again, yeah, you're right. Depends on what you say is going to determine your fit to the work culture. Well said.
Exactly.
So Mayank, I know ATS friendly resume worked out. So what's going to happen next in the interview?
Uh, well, it's very difficult to add more value to what Richard and Nikita have already added. But I'm known in my personal circle, I'm known for giving the worst of examples, but I'll still try to give you two examples to prove their point further. One example that always comes to my mind is research to add on to what they actually said about. But again, my forte is personal touch. One of my very few first jobs in my career, believe it or not, I landed it by using one dialogue because I knew about the culture of the company that I was getting into. The dialogue I used was, Madam, my father told me that if I get a job in your organization, not only will it make my career, but it will also make me a better human being. And I sold myself there, believe it or not. I didn't understand the value of it as much as I do today back then, but it worked out really well. The second example that I would like to give is this is a meeting with the director of human resources for the Americas. It's a construction company. And he is actually telling me that because they were looking for a project manager, a cluster project manager, that is. And his interview went fantastic. Everything was on point, and he reached that level means that he already cleared the 3 to 4 rounds before him. And it boiled down to one of the last questions. Out of all the most successful projects, what are the top 5 takeaways that you would like to tell me from your previous projects? And this wonderful man who had done so well so far mentioned a few takeaways, but had no idea about what is the most important thing about the company that is interviewing for. He missed out on safety as one of the most important parameters while he is managing the project, and mentioned literally everything else in the world. And this director was like, if safety is not amongst top 5 on the list, you're not the man for me. So yes, researching, but know about the culture, know what is important for the company. Extremely important, I think.
Mayank, thank you. That brings us to Chintav and Natasha. Chintav, I think Mayank just said values, right? Like what's required for the job and the work culture fit. Happy to hear from you around that for interviews.
Yeah, I mean,
Values.
I was thinking more, how do you get into the right mindset? In addition to, I agree with what everybody else has said. To get into the right mindset, I would say the piece of advice I have is the hour or two beforehand to try to start talking to the camera or start talking to somebody so you get into more of a talkative state of mind. Just having gone through this last 2 months or so, once I got into that state of mind, then I was able to be more clear, be more concise, be more articulate with my words. If the hour or two beforehand I was talking to a friend on the phone, talking to a friend in person, or just talking to the camera and trying to just answer sample questions and practicing. So it's the idea of practice makes perfect, but the hour or two beforehand kind of changes the way that your mind works when you're going right into the interview because it's as if it's a continuation and you'll do much better, in my opinion, that way. But yeah, just a small piece of advice I want to add.
Thank you for that. Natasha?
Thanks, Apurva. I'm going to make it quick. I think in my experience, I think preparation is key. It's amazing at how many people underestimate the power of being prepared in an interview. And what I essentially mean is, contrary to what like a lot of panelists have said here, I honestly feel sure I mean, you have to research the company. I'm not going to say that don't, but it doesn't mean you spend hours and hours and hours going through their website and pages. So, and the reason I say this is, for example, I work with a client who's a very complex product, right? They work in the database space, but within database, they work with something called Postgres and so on. And so I take it on me because when I was interviewing with them, I had no idea what that is. Like, what is database management? You know it high level, but you don't really know like what is the SQL they use or things like that. And so the one cheat sheet I actually say to folks is don't spend hours researching a company. That's not what any of the panelists here are suggesting. Be smart about it, right? What I typically recommend to candidates, because I also want to make sure they are set up for success in the interview process, is go to the company's website or go to their LinkedIn page. There is literally like an about section there. If you understood and you spent 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes just understanding broadly what that about section is, that is more than enough for you to kind of relay in your interview and then kind of build questions from there. And I also think questions are the answers. So once you've given this little bit of a snippet to the company to show them that, yes, I'm engaged, I've done the research and so on and so forth, flip a couple of questions back at them. Then you let them do the talking and you're doing the, okay, fine. Like, it's just also interviewing needs to be a little bit smarter like that too, right? So I think preparation in that sense becomes key. Sure, you do the research, but also flip some questions back to them. What that also in a very subtle way does is that now you've started a conversation and a dialogue as against an interview where it feels very overwhelming when it's a monologue where all you're doing is the other person's asking you the question and you're feeling the pressure of giving the answers. And that is a very important soft skill in an interview. And something I also want to cover today, Apurva, which again, in my experience, I think has been very important.
Yes, go ahead.
Is the cultural amalgamation. And what I mean by that is, without sounding very complex, the ability to use soft skills in an interview is just as important as the ability to have the hard skills or the functional skills to do a role. I cannot tell you how many times we have looked at a candidate's resume for, let's say, technical roles. They have everything and more that my company or my client may be looking for. They will come in the interview process. They will be able to regurgitate all of that out. But they've, let's say, interrupted the interviewer 3 times. Or they've made a statement that misaligns with the culture. And by culture, I don't mean the organization's culture per se, but even generically. So for example, Canadians are known to be polite. We are known to speak with a certain pace, a certain tone, a certain way. What happens is when we're newcomers into the country, that cultural amalgamation and that soft skill is something that we haven't built. And that can be the make or break sometimes because there are 5 candidates who have the functional skill set we're looking for. But there is one who's got the soft skill that the company is looking for as well, which is a general, like a soft skill to have. For example, the way you communicate, or are you an active listener, or are you interrupting people when they're speaking? And that became a reason for us to reject a candidate.
Oh, wow.
Because they said, that, you know what, if this person is continuously interrupting me when they're talking to me in an interview, they will also interrupt the customer when they're selling my company to the customer, for example.
Right.
Or they will not understand the team that I have right now. This person will not amalgamate well with that team. And so then when those decisions are getting made, and when there are people who have the skills like you have, especially in technical roles, it becomes that much more difficult for you to find the opportunity working in your favor. So something I do want to encourage and highlight here is also understand the culture, the law of the land, the culture of the land that you're in. Um, it doesn't matter in Canada if your dad's like a big shot or you know the prime minister of the country, like no one cares. It's a very level playing field. So things like that, like, you know, mentioning things like that will not really help you gain any points in the interview process. And to know and understand that and to build on the soft skills becomes really important too.
Excellent. Natasha, thank you. That brings us to an opportunity to reflect upon ourselves. I always say to people looking for jobs, including me, myself, I feel reflect upon your inner self first before you talk about what you want. Because yes, it's easy to ask for things, but you need to know what you're asking for. And I learned it very hard way with our kids. When we ask them to do something, we don't even know. We are not clear of what actually we expect. And kids tell us, "Why, Dad? Why we need to do this?" And that why question will actually answer. You know, you're missing something in your dialogue or in your value proposition. So practice this opportunity. Job search is a project. It's a beautiful opportunity to reflect upon yourself, use the values that you have through culturally as well as family, and network with professionals to learn more. That's amazing. I think this panel is on fire. Love the energy each one of you brings. I know if this was in person, would be a very different aura altogether. But however, our objective was to reach as many people as we can. At this point, I want to remind everybody again, if you are with us till the end of this call, there is a challenge out there to give you an opportunity to talk to our panelists 15 minutes. With one of our panelists, 5 participants will be chosen. The keyword is YJP winner, and it's also in your chat box. If you're still here, you have an opportunity. You click on the link that's in the chat box and put your feedback with YJP winner. We will choose 5 participants from there. Thank you very much. This brings us to an opportunity to ask questions. We have collected some beautiful questions. There are a couple of folks who have been on camera consistently, so we'll also go live first. So I see Sagar and Akash were on camera. Sagar, you want to go first with a live question?
So, Apurva, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Actually, I don't have questions. I'm here to learn more. What are the panelists they are providing information on? So currently, fortunately, I have the job. So I am just learning to keep my job. So I would like to pass some the questions to other people at the moment. I'm here just to learn.
Thank you, Sagar. Yeah, keep the job is a question too. Mayank, you were saying something about an example. This is a good time to say that.
It's funny. Sagar is ready to perhaps be a panelist next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the example. To be honest with you, I just wanted to give the example of everything that I wanted to summarize everything that I was actually speaking about. So let's take an example, a scenario. A job description is seeking an Android developer. We are actually mobile development specialists, so Android is favorite to me. So the job description says, for example, that someone is seeking for an Android developer with experience in Kotlin, Jetpack Compose, RESTful APIs, and unit testing. The most common approach that we see on resumes is I see what the job requirement is, and I just randomly copy and paste those skill sets in my skills section. But that's exactly what the issue is. Even if you go through the ATS, we as recruiters, and I would love to hear contradicting statements on this. That's the beauty of having a varied, distinct panel. But this is the most common. The moment a human sees it, we know what the issue is with the particular resume, because you've not mentioned anything, for example, about RESTful APIs anywhere on the resume except your skills section. So the right approach, in our opinion, in the professional opinion, would be that you mention it in one of your job experiences also. And I'm not saying fabricate it. You know if the job is right for you. You know if you'll go through the hurdles of getting through it. But if you have had the experience, customize your resume. You can mention something like, you've developed and implemented responsive user interfaces using Jetpack Compose and Kotlin, integrating with RESTful APIs and deliver real-time data updates. And you can perhaps also mention something about achieving a certain percentage with the unit testing that you actually conducted for it, and ensuring it's a robust application stability. Something like that would really help your case a lot better. Keywords are again naturally to be integrated. That's the whole point, and so that the impact is demonstrated through achievements instead of being buzzwords.
Thank you very much, Mayank. That was great. One of our directors, Shikha, is also here. Shikha, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hi. Hi, hello. This has been a great discussion so far. I'm Shikha Kotari. I'm Director of Events for YJP. Actually, for me, I recently got a dream job for myself last year in September. So I'm in that phase where I'm just crossing the initial 6 months. So I was thinking about this question that I typed into the chat, but once people have received an offer and started a new role, what are all of your thoughts on best practices when preparing for a new role and setting yourself up for success? I think those of us who have had a prior job kind of think about, right, like what worked best, what didn't work, what would be the best way to kind of start out from a clean slate once you started a new role and making like a good impression. I think in general, like time management, people skills, healthy relationships with the supervisor or manager.
I think Shikha, Richard would be the right one. Career switch, Richard.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, Shikha, congrats on getting your dream job. That's a great question, and I think something which people overlook because they focus so much on getting the job, then they have the job and say, okay, what do I do? And it ties into as well, like I think the mindset piece is key. So as I mentioned, a big thing is that concept of it's not a transaction when you are talking to people, it's about relationship building. And the advice I always give people when you start a new role is be a sponge, absorb everything, like see how things are happening, like really take note on how an organization is run, like be curious. Like I think people, as much as like when you're talking to senior leaders, like get curious, what are they working on? Like what's important. I think one thing too, which at least I can speak in Canada, which is a practice which a lot of people do, is simple things like coffee chats. Like I think like there's nothing wrong with after you start with the company a few weeks out, like booking coffee chats with people, maybe doing a similar role as yourself or somebody who maybe came from the same university as you and has been there for a few more years, like really booking time, like, hey, understanding what did you like about the role, just asking questions like, hey, about themselves, what did you struggle with? And I think particularly like the question you're asking us is a really good question, like internally too, to be asking amongst your organizations. But the big advice I always tell people is be a sponge, just absorb everything, understand the inner workings. And something too, at least very common in the Canadian culture, is sharing feedback with people. Like, and what I mean by that is feedback has a negative connotation at times, but maybe you're in a meeting and a director presents something, like it's really like this rarely happens. People seek feedback, we're humans. Maybe even dropping them an email, hey, I really like that presentation you did today. These are my takeaways. People generally like these tidbits of things, and it shows you care, and you're not approaching things transactionally, like, oh, I want a promotion. You're genuinely investing in the time to get to know somebody and share feedback, which is really key.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Natasha, you had a hand up. Go ahead.
Sorry, Apurva, all I was saying was, and I think Richard's actually kind of already covered that, but questions are the answers. And that's something I've done extensively, which is ask the questions. There's never a stupid question. It's never a bad question. You're new, so you can get away with anything you ever want to ask. And so that's something I often remind myself of is there are no silly questions. Ask away, and I kid you not, people want a chance to be heard. They want someone who's open to listening to them. So it's a win-win.
That's great. Thank you so much. Akash, I'll let you to ask your question. You've been on camera since morning, so go ahead.
Thank you so much, Apurva, and thank you for all the panelists. Wonderful insights into the recruitment, world, and also, just practical tips. So I really, so just to give an introduction, I'm a finance professional. I'm working currently, like Sagar, I'm currently working, so I'm trying to keep my job. But just in terms of just a thought, as everyone wants to grow in their career, I would also want to grow in my career, and I want to understand how do I firstly, if I need to reach out to a recruiter or a hiring manager, especially in the country like Canada or Toronto. So just want to know what's the best way to approach them with a first message, I mean, for a stranger, not to sound like someone who's just trying to be mean, or someone who's being desperate. So just want to know what's the best way to reach out.
Chinta, would you like to take that question?
Yeah. Just speaking from, I guess, recent experience of making the big transition in career. A lot of what I found very useful was a very short and open LinkedIn DM helps to open a conversation. Are you open for a quick 10-minute call? Something that's very simple that if they're interested, they'll give you a 10-minute call. All you have to do is ask for, I'm just looking for information, more of an informational interview for you. So that it's not too high pressure. It's not a cold email. LinkedIn is actually, and a DM is probably a very simple way that doesn't have that much pressure behind it. I think that's number one, the just hands down easiest way to approach people.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Akash.
Thanks.
I will let Divya ask her question. Divya, go for it.
Dia Sangvi?
Dia, sorry. I'm so sorry. Dia, go ahead, please. Your hand is up, Dia. You're on mute, Dia. Okay, I think. Oh, there she is. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Dia.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Dia.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm Dia Sangvi. I recently graduated from Stevens Institute of Technology, and since a year I am job hunting, especially in the field of software engineering. But I did like around 1,500 plus applications and all, but I'm not getting interviews and only getting rejections. So I was wondering if I can get some tips about it.
Yeah, I think Nikita, would you like to take it on?
Sure, Apurva, thank you so much. Dia, it all goes. See, first thing is, it's great that you're applying, but getting disappointed and discouraged is not what you're looking for. My question to you is, do you have a job in hand or you don't have a job at all?
Yeah, I do have a unpaid. I'm doing an unpaid internship right now at a startup, but I'm looking for full-time opportunities for my STEM extension.
Okay, perfect. So what happens here is, Dia, you need to look for the right keywords. We spoke about a lot of things, how the resume building is there, how you need to apply to the job. Take some advice from people. If you're getting multiple rejections, I would suggest that you need to reach out to somebody to give a second look to your resume. That is very important. And when you're getting rejections, not all recruiters or everybody is going to be ready to answer, but try to reach out to people, these recruiters, and ask them what is the reason of rejection. If one or two you get a hit, you might understand where the fallback is. The main key thing right now, what I think, is to understand what is wrong in your resume that is creating rejections. Are these rejections direct rejections from resume or rejections after interview is also very important to understand, Dia.
Most of them are direct rejections. I
Okay.
hardly got a couple of interviews.
See, that ratio is very difficult to describe, but again, it is understanding the resume, and if it is a rejection through interviews, then getting feedback is very important.
Okay.
Very much.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Next question I will allow Siddhant. Siddhant, can you please come on the call? The lawyer question that you had, Siddhant Jain. You have to unmute, Siddhant, to ask your question.
Yes, hi. Hi, I'm Siddhant Jain. I recently moved to California from Delhi, and I had my own practice in Delhi. I was working there for the past 7 years. I had the privilege to assist several clients, including corporations. And now that I'm in California, so one thing that I wanted to know was that I mean, I'm building my resume these days, and I've applied to some of the law firms for a role of legal assistant. I mean, I do get that I can't straight away look for some senior level jobs. I have to start from entry level, like legal assistant positions, law clerk, something like that. And but the problems, I mean, my only question is that should I include my experience that I've gained from India? I mean, since being a partner in my own law firm and everything, or should I just skip all of the experience that I have? I mean, and just write what my skills are in terms of the legal assistant job.
At this point, I'll ask Mayank to answer this question.
Sure. Thank you, Apurva and Siddhant. Although not an expert in this field, but if I forget the industry you are from and approach it just on the question of on the basis of the question itself, it is a tricky one to begin with. There are chances and cases wherein somebody will think that he is overqualified for the position, and that is why they will not consider you. And there are also chances wherein they will think that this is exactly the kind of person I'm looking for, someone who can grow within my organization, considering the amount of experience he comes with. I would approach it, if in your position, a little bit smartly by not mentioning the exact scenario as to, hey, you know what, I was the a co-owner, you said something?
A partner, yes.
A partner in the firm in Delhi. I will perhaps not go to that extent, but I will definitely mention something about the fact that I come with a lot of experience, and I'm happy to share that experience with you if you'd like to know more about it in a very diplomatic manner, so that you get at least a table on a chance to sit on the table and then speak your part.
That's very helpful. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Apurva, with permission, I would like to add a point for Divya as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dia, sorry.
Yeah, Dia, go ahead. Yeah.
So Dia, my office is in Hoboken, which is Stevens is actually a neighbor. My office is in the next building itself. One thing that I love about Stevens is the level at which they take their projects. They take the projects very, very seriously, and the kind of projects that we've seen come out of Stevens are actually some fantastic startup ideas in today's world, wherein people who are in their senior years are actually having their businesses set up already. That's the level at which Stevens contributes to the industry. I would, if in your position, I would have taken. I will actually recommend this to your juniors, that take your projects very, very seriously, because for a fresher, when we look at a fresher's resume, the only thing we want to see is what have you done so far. I don't want to perhaps see the academic contributions that you've made in your resume. What have you done? What do you know? What can you do for me on the basis of not theory perhaps, but on the basis of what did you do during your college years? That is something that I would build on more in your resume if I'm in your position, and just elaborate as much as I can about it, so that I know, okay, I know I'm hiring a fresher, but what do you bring on the table for me? Something maybe helpful for you. Thank you.
Mayank, that's great, because that local information is here. Yes, Nikita, you have to say something. Please go ahead, Nikita. And
Yes,
then I to two more people to ask questions. So Nikita, go ahead, please.
This is just for Siddhant, since Mayank very well said about his the dilemma that he's going through. But I have one thing that just popped up in my mind. Sometimes your cover letters really help you define what you're looking for. Where you're talking about yourself, but you're not talking too much about your professional experience. You're giving them insights about what you're looking for, but also talking a little bit how you can contribute to the organization. So adding that cover letter to your job application is very important. Frankly speaking, being a recruiter, we don't look for cover letters. We tend to ignore it. But when I have worked for a little bit for a legal firm where, I was hiring some legal roles as well. There, for one thing that I know is they do look at cover letters.
Okay. All right. All right.
I hope that helps for you.
Thanks for chiming in on this. That was very helpful.
No problem.
Okay.
That's great, Nikita. Thank you. Next question, I'll pass it to Richard, and the question is from Shreya. Shreya, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. This is Shreya Sangvi. So I just recently moved to Canada, but I from Mumbai, and I have a diversified background. But I'm just confused with how do I approach and where do I go? So I have done my master's in clinical psychology back home, and I have also more into training L&D background. I have conducted a couple of trainings for Bombay Chamber of Commerce, Kokila Ben Hospital, all of these things. I started my journey because I did my bachelor's in science. I worked as in an association of international wealth management as business development. But post that, I was continuously working in the L&D department, learning and development. I started with my own organization during the lockdown, wherein we were trying to bridge the gap between the L&D department and corporate as well. So our services were being white labeled at a few MNCs, but now since October I am here in Canada, and I'm just looking forward to apply in the L&D domain again. I've enrolled myself for instructional designing course also. But just I don't know, like how would I get here? What should be my approach plan, and how do I get into it?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think sure, like one of the things is because of the diverse background you have, it's a positive in some ways, but also obviously can be a bit tricky. I can imagine. Like the advice I'd say is like understanding maybe what role you want, and then I always just tell people to like you can look at people on LinkedIn who have these roles, understand what companies they're working at. The other thing, the advice I give to candidates such as yourself, when you're unsure what you're looking for, or like it is making sure, I always tell candidates, don't think like a candidate, think like a recruiter. If somebody's looking for you, how can you be found? So uploading, is your resume on Indeed? Is your resume on Monster? Is it on the job boards? Because if somebody, it might not be specifically an L&D role, but they might be looking for somebody with your background and experience. And if your resume isn't on these job sites, like you're not going to be found. So I always tell people like, how are you looking for a job without doing anything? And that's typically by being on these job boards, like on LinkedIn, mentioning open to XYZ, because and I'm sure all the recruiters on the panel can see sometimes when we have a role, a lot of the times I get roles where I have no idea what the position is and I need to do research. The first thing I do is I go on Indeed and I see, okay, hey, who has this experience? What does that profile look like? So that's another piece of advice I give. So one is like look at people who have the roles you want, what companies they're at, and secondly, it's how are you at the quote unquote advertising yourself? Like how are you going to be found by recruiters? So hopefully that's helpful. And given it's Canada too, I would really recommend making sure your resume is on Indeed and your LinkedIn says what roles you're open to.
Just one last
Oh,
thing
wow.
to ask that okay, that's there. But how do I match the job profile, like the title for L&D as
Yeah.
per LinkedIn and as per my resume may differ, because that's something which I'm just, struggling also with. Because if I say L&D, learning and development,
Yeah.
or if I say training and development, or if in that case, even if I have to say instructional designing or any of those things, and I have
So
been back home a founder of a company. So then how do I portray this on my LinkedIn and my resume so for it to match?
So I would just make sure one of the advice I'd say is less about sometimes people get hung up on titles. It's less sometimes about the titles, more about the job duties as well, like making sure those keywords are there because somebody's in the profession and they look at your resume, they're able to understand that too. Or yeah, that's what I'd say. I'm
Okay.
sure other people might have another perspective too on that.
Yeah. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think in essence of time, we have many questions. I can only take one more. Sagar, quickly, did you have a question? I see your hands up was up for a while. Sagar?
A very small question for Natasha. Natasha, yesterday she just mentioned about yesterday's incident where there was a candidate for whom an organization can move mountains, right? He was a very wonderful candidate. So I just wanted to ask her, what are two key takeaways you wanted to give us so that we can also be like that candidate? What are some special traits or qualities you liked in that candidate apart from technical knowledge?
Sure, that's a great question, Sagar. I think to your point, she was functionally very strong, so she was extremely aligned to what we were looking for. But I think, like I said, through the interview process, I think this candidate was absolutely stellar. Her communication was on point. Her answers were very context driven. And I often actually try and educate a lot of my candidates to help them be successful in the process. And one of the key things I do kind of remind them of is context setting. And nothing sets context better than examples. And then Nikita did a little bit earlier mention about the STAR approach. I personally feel it's a fantastic way to tell a story in any interview. So walking in prepared with a few examples is always helpful. And I think this candidate kind of really did a absolutely fabulous, um, you know, she did a fabulous job at it. Communication was also very, very strong. I do want to call out this role was for a marketing team, so communication as a result was key. And also, I think she walked in having a very good sense of what she was looking for, because something that she did that very few candidates do is that prior to her interview, she'd actually reached out to me. She'd emailed me to say, to see if we could spend 10 minutes for me to help her prepare for her next interview round, which was with our senior director of marketing. And I think that extra step, in a way, kind of nailed the deal for her in a way, because I was able to give her a lot more insight than what just a job description was saying. And I always say this to candidates, especially for folks who are interviewing for sales or GTM operations role, which is there is a job description, which is basically the functional skill set a company is looking for. But there's this whole other element, which is the soft skills piece that no one's asking, which is the nuances of the role, which is the nuances of, what the hiring team's really looking for. And this candidate went that extra step. She spoke with me. I gave a very clear direction in terms of, this is what they're going to look for. This is how I would encourage you to prepare. These are some questions you should walk in prepared for. And needless to say, because, as recruiters, we do have that sense. We know what hiring teams are looking for beyond just the JD. And I think that kind of was a win-win. But all of this to say that she was a very, very strong candidate as well. She's a very good interviewer.
Thank you, Natasha.
Asha, thank you. I have chance for one more last question. Ankita Shah, if you are still here, go ahead, please. I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ankita Shah. I'm living in California, Southern California, and I have 8 years of career gap. So how can I approach to company? Because my resume, whenever I approach, rejected because I have a gap in my resume. So, and I completed my data analyst course last year. Not as a like certified, but yeah, somewhere everyone doing like that. I did it. So my focus on resume and how to approach in the market.
Yeah, Chinta, would you like to take it, Chinta?
Yeah, sure. I can start and feel free to jump in to the others. I think one thing is what is it that you were doing in the 8 years that might be an outside personal passion and project? Try to summarize that and collate all of that into some level of business orientation. Like I was working on this organization, I was working with this nonprofit. Okay, well, you can kind of write all of that out and then use ChatGPT, use AI to kind of summarize it, make it cleaner, make it more oriented towards what companies want to see. But start off with what you were doing with those 5, 8 years, and see if they were even small projects. If it was taking care of a group of people, taking care of children. There's ways that you can frame it. Again, with the use of ChatGPT, with the use of AI, you can frame it so that it applies to what a company is looking for, especially in a data analyst role, data governance role, those types of roles. They're looking for that detail-oriented mindset. So how can you frame what you did towards that detail-oriented or analysis mindset? Start with that, but any other panelists want to jump in, feel free.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say anybody want to jump in, go for it. Nikita, you want to jump in, or Mayank? Go ahead.
Mayank, go for it.
Well, it's the most important information here is as to what were you doing before 8 years.
Yeah, I am advanced Excel. Like I'm an analyst for 3 years. I have experience about it, and I doing the like startup work in startup in Bangalore. And after that, 8 years, I'm roaming with my husband. Like he has another project, so I can't do it my job.
So, with all honesty and bluntness, Ankita, I would consider you as a fresher. Your previous experience is irrelevant to me. So, if you can train yourself to approach everything that you're about to do next as a fresher, it'll sort of ease things for you because you won't have that burden that I'm actually coming with some experience. It's just that my break is creating an issue. Just eliminate that. Treat everything as a fresher, and I guess it'll help you better, mentally speaking.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's true. Like because I apply, but rejection is coming. So I don't know. Like now I'm literally fed up. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think we're almost at the close of the event. I want to ask my expert panelists an opportunity here. Each one of you, I'll call out by name. I want you to maybe in one line or something that you reflect upon based on your career, or if you had any opportunity to talk to people, something that sticks to your mind that you want to reflect to people, like something you love about somebody or some talent that you appreciate, something like that. So I just want to start. Maybe we'll go with Richard first, then we go Nikita, Mayank. So let's start from Richard. One thing that sticks to you for the last so many years.
Sir, can I ask?
So it's just like something that's stuck with me from my career and things, or advice I give people.
From your career or even while interviewing people.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, and I think this is just in some of the concepts of mindset and principles that we've talked about, is I'm a firm believer in this, and I always try to tell people this, is you are the energy you bring. So really focusing on like what kind of energy you want to bring. So we've had some of the panelists talk about the mindset when you go into negotiation, rate conversations, like how do you want to show up? And I firmly believe like there's a lot of once you show up with a positive energy, things happen. So whatever I always tell candidates to like before going in, you can get sometimes so stuck up in your own head about like what am I going to say? What am I going to say? You don't actively listen. Maybe taking a step back and realize, okay, hey, how am I approaching this? Do I want to win? Like showing up with positive, like despite what's happening, trying to be positive. Like once I'm a firm believer, like creates a very positive thinking creates positive domino effects. And if you can be the energy you want, that has a lot of values. That's something I personally believe in. I try to tell people this, and it's like a way I like to live my life. So yeah.
Excellent. And with crowd's consent, we have Anuj who has one more question. He's been pinging for a while to our admin. So Anuj, go ahead very quickly with your question.
Thank you so much, sir. 30 seconds. F1 visa, OPT, 1000 resumes, 100% rejection, in very clear discussion with HR and the hiring manager. Resume is fantastic, super duper. You can get job today, but we are not hiring you because we don't have OPT. We are not giving you H1. All those kind of problems. Resume is perfect. Bachelor's from India, computer science, masters, Bay Area, AI, software. Please ask me any question. HR and hiring manager not accepting because of OPT and F1.
Thank you very much for the question. I'm so sorry to hear about this situation, but we are into this economic situation where the government doesn't really know how to deal with H1 situation. But I think from US, Mayank, if you can add some value, would be great.
I would love to go on one-on-one call with you, perhaps, if need be, Anuj, to give you a couple of references. Let's be honest, that's the reality of the market we are living in right now. The best of brands, they've stopped sponsoring because of the uncertainties that stand in front of us. I always recommend the path forward would be to go approach consultancies who are not only willing to and this also qualifies as a tip for all the freshers out there who are looking straight away for full-time jobs. I understand that consultancies have a bad image in the market, but they are the need of the hour for you at this point of time. Go approach them. They will not only help you with the sponsorship of your visa, which means that you can stay in the country for longer, but they will also, in the meantime, train you so that you can find a job that you perhaps won't be able to by yourself. They will train you in the most relevant technologies. They will train you in the most relevant on-the-job experiences that are required for their clients. Yes, they will take away a chunk of your salary in the initial few years, but let's understand what the reality on the ground is for you to survive in the country for as long as possible. So that's I have a couple of references if you'd like in New Jersey, especially. You can ping me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to share those references with you. This is for you and for anybody who's a fresher looking for a full-time job straight away. The market is very tough.
I'm gonna
Thank you. Yeah, Vanessa, go ahead. Yeah.
Really quick, I am currently working with a US-based client as well, and they do offer sponsorship for technical roles. So much like my network is your network, please feel free to reach out. I can't guarantee if I can help, but I can at least,
Thank you.
get you to meet the right people.
Wow, thank you guys. Thank you
I have
so
a
much.
small request. I do have LinkedIn profiles for most of our panelists. Mayank and Richard, if you could please drop your LinkedIn profile for the participants to just like follow up and connect with you.
That's great, Shrenuj. Thank you. All right, we'll continue with this one thing that you like to tell us. Nikita, I'll go with you, then Natasha, then Chinta, and then Mayank Bhai. Nikita, go ahead.
Every day is a learning phase, I feel, Apurva. When you're interviewing so many people, being on the other side, you get to learn a lot. We start raw, but interviewing people, you learn people skills, you learn different technologies. when last I lost my job with the layoff, I joined this automobile industry. I was hiring for a very high position, just not disclosing very too much detail. But this candidate said to me one thing, which really hit me a lot. It's not the vehicle that you're driving, it's the journey, which is so well said, and it applies to everybody over here. We just need to keep our focus on, if we keep our focus on the right thing of what we want and where we want to land, one day or the other, I feel that we will be there. It might take sometimes a little less or little more, but just believe in yourself. I'm a firm believer about it. If you believe in yourself and you keep telling to yourself that it's going to happen, believe me, it's going to happen one day. That's
Thank you very much. I hope it happens for me.
It will. Give good to the universe and the universe will come back to you.
It does. Absolutely, it does. Thank you so much. Natasha?
I just say communication is critical. We can all have the best intent, we can all have the best mindset, we can all have the best skills on paper, but if we cannot communicate that, we will not be able to drive home the real point. And every company eventually looks for that impact. And so it's very important to continue to build that muscle of communication. And I don't just mean on how we talk and just that, but also what we're saying, how are we saying it, and then all of the nuances of communication that kind of come with it. So I think for me, it's a muscle I consciously at least always try to kind of work on.
Thank you, Natasha. Appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing more things from you in person in Toronto.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mayanbhai, you can go ahead, and then Chinta or whoever, whoever was ready next.
Yeah, I can.
No, it's perfectly fine. Chinta, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, quickly, just to add on, I think throughout my career, I've seen relationships are more important than the work itself. The most fun I've had or the most freedom I've had in the roles that I've had have been when I enjoy the people I'm working with, and also I've built the relationship so that they trust me, I trust them. So whether you're at your current job or also just building it outside in your network in the city that you're in, focusing on that over just the day-to-day I have to get done, this PowerPoint or this Excel spreadsheet is more important and much more important than you think in the long term than the short term.
Chinta, thank you so much. One plug for Chinta and the Jainism values. I use it myself on a daily basis in commercial banking. In business, it's very difficult to maintain values and grow. One thing I do tell my clients is honesty is the best policy, even though you have to pay some tax or pay some duties or bills. At the end of the day, you will sleep well and you will help a lot of people. But thank you very much. Chinta, you did enlighten us with a lot of good Jainism values today. Thank you. Mayank, over to you, sir. Thanks for waiting.
I would like to first of all thank and congratulate everybody on this panel. It was more enlightening than I could have foreseen. The things that I would like to leave with is the harsh reality for the candidates and people who are seeking jobs is that the recruiters merely get seconds to pass through your resume. You need to stand out, but you need to stand out with the work that you've actually done and not stand out with work that you can do tomorrow. While you have the time, even if you are applying for jobs and don't have anything, try to get something under your projects that helps you, whether it be professionally or personally. Thankfully, you guys are a part of this wonderful community. Even this community help and doing work in this community will take you places with networking and with learning things from such wonderful professionals who are willing to lend their hand to you. Thank you very much for the opportunity and all the best to everybody.
Thank you, Mayank. That was amazing. All right, so I think that brings us to the end of this conversation. But I feel job search is a project. We just started on this journey. in case you liked and
Purva bhai, your voice is dropping.
on LinkedIn, I have included that link for you. That will give you the opportunity to share your feedback, and you will be chosen 5 participants to talk to our panelists today. So you have a great opportunity to reconnect with some of them, and you also have their LinkedIn profiles in the chat box. At this point, I want to thank each and every one of you with no particular order, but thank you, Richard Williams. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Nikita. Thank you, Mayank. Thank you, Chintao. And thank you to YJP, who was able to put this together for all of us today. And my team, the YJP Board 2025, along with my partner in Good Crime, Manan, who is a co-chair for YJP in the USA and working in North America. I want to say thank you to everybody who is here today and appreciate you being here and giving us an opportunity to provide this service to the community. And we will be back. This is part 2. We want to do 3, 4, 5. We want to go back and do more. With that, Arpit or Akshat, if you are still here with us, Arpit, if you like to take a minute and talk about Jainism, the docu-series, I'd love to give you the floor. Arpit, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Apu sir, for always helping us out in this documentary. The idea for this documentary came when I asked my parents some very basic questions about Jainism. What does the word Jain mean? When and how did Jainism start? And surprisingly, I didn't get clear answers. And mind you, they have been visiting temple daily since childhood. That made me wonder if lifelong practitioners struggle to explain Jainism's philosophy, then what about the younger generation? So, uh, so we wanted to so we wanted to explore it further. So we thought that I think because there are very few content made on Jainism, and none of those content actually tells where and how did Jainism started, and what are the first pillars, and who are the first pillars to build Jainism. And so we thought that maybe we can make this into a web series, a very high quality, well produced web series of 6 episodes. And thankfully, I reached out to Mr. Apu sir, and he helped us in developing this concept even further, and helped us to also connect with everyone at YJP. So I'm really thankful, Apu sir, for this opportunity, and I really hope people also get to see the trailer that we have made last year. So yeah, yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Arpit, Akshat, and the team who is putting together Jainism. This is an opportunity for Jains to really reflect upon what the culture is and how we grow as a community. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. YJP Career Expo 2025 is an opportunity for you to share your feedback and reconnect with some of our panelists. And we would like to see you again and potentially hear any opportunities that you received due to this event. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening today, and I really appreciate your time and patience. Again, Shrenuj, would you like to close with some Navkar mantra, please?
Nora Purva, thank you very much. Again, thank you to all the panelists for taking out the time to share insights with the participants. And we will be also uploading this video to our YouTube channel. So like even the folks who couldn't make it to this webinar will be able to follow up. And I have mentioned the LinkedIn profiles for our panelists. So if you guys want to reach out to them, feel free. Just make sure you reference this webinar and keep the conversations professional. Also added contact information for our team members. And just a friendly reminder that YJP does events in person as well, and we rely on donations. So to echo on Ronak's message, I have put in the link to our YJP donation page, and if you want a more direct donation, then you can send an e-transfer to Apurubhai or to Man Mehta on Zelle. And with that, I would like to close this webinar with an Okar mantra.
Thank you.
Namo Orientanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loe Satasahanam, Eso Panchanamakaro, Savo Pava Panasam no, Manglanam Chasavesi, Padamam Havai Mangalam.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it and have a great evening. And thank you to my support team who had been here. Brinal had also joined. Thank you very much. Appreciate all of you. Have a good evening, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.